All right. Welcome to episode 65 of Order on the Courts. It's currently wind chill of 27 below zero here in Milwaukee. And I'm going to start with that, the last 24 hours of the incredible amount of snow we had. But first, I may have talked about it before. When I'm president, I'm definitely going to only allow people to go by the feels like temperature because I don't care what the real temperature is. I care what it feels like. So if you ask me what the temperature is, I'm going to tell you it's minus 27, even though the real temperature might say 6. Who cares? Don't you care about what it actually feels like when you step out your door? So when I'm president, feels like only. Get used to it. So this snow was pretty incredible. I sort of blow off snowstorms because it seems like we always get wound up about this stuff and then it's never what it is. Well, this one lived up to the hype, and it was pretty incredible. It's pretty until it's not. And anyway, my day included a whole lot of bad happened, including power going out for almost 24 hours and our house getting down to, I think the low was 56 degrees. So that's not fun. Um, My wife got her car stuck in the road at about 6:15 a.m. on Saturday morning. So to get out and shovel that out and get it back in the driveway, that wasn't fun. My house basically sits on a lake, and that means our sump pump runs all day, every day, even in the summer when no rain, our sump pump's going. So when the power goes out, guess what happens? The sump pump fills up, and that water doesn't get shot out of the house, and it ends up in my carpet. So we had to deal with that too. So about 1 a.m., I was up carrying buckets of ice cold water from the crock to our sink. And then I set my alarm for every hour I got up to make sure we weren't flooding. And eventually I lost the battle. I also had help. My wife helped us tremendously keep up with this stuff too. But fortunately, it got so cold that it slowed down, and we only had a closet with soaked carpet, a small space that I was able to rent a carpet cleaner and just clean that up a little bit. So we had several hours of just trying to figure out, do we let the basement go? Do we shovel? Is the car going to get smashed? Are we going to freeze to death? We even discussed among my family who would we eat. They they chose me, which I don't understand because I was helping quite a bit, shoveling, salting, clearing ice, carrying water. So if they got rid of me, I'm not sure they'd survive much longer. But big shout out to my wife for helping, and Ben helped me chop some serious ice after the plow went through. But hope you guys survived. Um, but I brought it up because tennis terms, everything that could have gone wrong to us that morning happened in that day, and we had multiple things that were stressors. And I had moments of really being exhausted, just thinking, screw it, I'm just going to let everything go. I'm going to let my basement flood. I'm going to let the snow pile up. I'm going to leave the car in the road. All these things. Consider just getting a hotel because I'm a wimp. And then I did what hopefully adults are supposed to do. You take care of it. You put it in priority list and you fix the things that need to be fixed first. So we took care of the basement, made sure we were clear of feeling like we were going to be in serious damage down there. And then we went to clearing the clearing the driveway and getting the cars out, all the way to finding a warm place to hang out. Thanks Panera. And then we got it done. And today I'm looking out the window at blue skies and bright sun, and it is freezing, but it is, at least it's got the sun out, and that makes me feel better. So on the tennis court, I tell everybody, just who cares what had just happened to you? Let's fix it. What's in front of you? How do you want to match when you're playing like garbage? And yesterday was garbage play for us. And fortunately, we ended up, I guess we won by the end of the night by 8 o'clock. I was watching a movie. Everything's cleaned up, everything's salted, heat's on. We're good. We just had to survive those moments of wanting to quit or give up or um, try major things. So on a tennis court, just whatever, just deal with it. I did not want to deal with it yesterday. I had some moments of, like I said, no, I'm just going to let it all go to crap and deal with it tomorrow. But eventually, with some help, we fixed it all. So it was a good lesson for me. It's also, if you're thinking, why don't you have a generator? Two reasons. I had one. My buddy Frika, who I've talked about before, he had me one. He was going to be a good human, good person. This is maybe a year ago, and he had it. I drove all the way to KZ, Illinois, 5 or 6 hours to pick up my generator. And on the way there, I believe it was on the way or just before I left, Frika calls me and tells me that the generator was stolen off of his front porch. No joke. So I was supposed to have one, but it's a little bit shady. And even when I was there, I was in the car with him when he talked to the cops about it getting stolen. And so I blame Frika. I also am cheap. I'm not cheap. I'm fiscally responsible. And to spend that kind of money on something I need once, I haven't done yet. But I've made a decision. 2024 is going to the year of a generator because I don't want to have to deal with this stuff again. So that's my snow story. Hope you guys were safe, and those of you that like snow, hope you had a good time. I absolutely hate it. Let's get the nuts and bolts. Colts. Um, uh, as you can tell, I'm still in mourning. What's the worst part is I again allowed myself to have hope, and hope is the worst. It always ends wrong, and I broke my rule of low expectations because the Colts were at home against a rookie quarterback, a team that really wasn't that good. Since then, they won a playoff game, and we had hope at the end. We needed dude to catch a pass with the two hands that hit the ball, and it wasn't a great pass, but it was a crushing end of the season. And I have a year to get over it. Well, a few months until I go to training camp. But it's pretty amazing what the NFL does to your emotions and feelings. I hate having feelings, but for the Colts, I do. And I think too, one of the I was talking to my buddy Kyle. It's not just my team losing. I get bummed out because I know that the thing that I enjoy doing in the winter, which is watching football. I know I like schedules. I know Sunday at noon I get to watch the Colts. It's in my schedule, and then all week long I get something to do on Sunday. I get Sunday night football on Monday and Thursday. I like that schedule. And so it saddens me a bit because I know there's nothing else. I'll still watch the playoffs. Super Bowl's fun, but my investment in it is long gone. I also know that that means we've got a couple months now of nothing until March Madness. Yes, the Australian Open starts today, but that's not the same. It doesn't do it for me. And so it's just a general, oh crap, it's the gray days of winter. I don't have anything to do on those weekends. Yes, if you're saying, well, why don't you teach more? I could, but I also want to be able to walk. It's later in my life. So I think it's just the general time of the year. The next couple months, I think, get slow, and that bothers me because I know what we're getting at. So you won't hear much from me about the Colts for a while. But next year, Super Bowl champions. I'm calling it Colts Bears Super Bowl, wherever it's at. Nuts and bolts still going. This one's just dumb. It's random. I heard a conversation on the radio with some scientists, and they were discussing this volcano. I believe it was in Japan or China, where they have a high number of suicides, people jumping into the volcano. And it was this conversation, and I'm sort of piecing things together a little bit of Google, but I always thought if you jumped into a volcano, you would fall all the way down this volcano, and then you hit the lava and you catch on fire, and it's this big dramatic spectacular thing, right? It's not true according to this scientist. And again, if I hear it, I believe it all to be true. These people are gone 5 seconds after they jump off the edge. Gone ashes, mist, whatever. That's how intense the steam and the heat and the chemicals and all that bad stuff is rising out of that volcano. Is 5 seconds. I just thought it was crazy and amazing. And um, I don't know why I brought it up, but I type in random stuff in my podcast notes and I titled this Jumping into a Volcano. So, yesterday during my winter disaster, I would have jumped into a volcano, if not just to get warm. Weight update today was good. I've been struggling. I did a whole week last week of staying under my allotted calories. I worked out a lot, not worked out. I run a lot, walk a lot of miles, and I gained, and I was angry this week, and I credit it to the amount of shoveling I had to do yesterday and outside. I got like 16,000 steps and did not hit the gym yesterday. Just simply walking and shoveling and sweating, and it was exhausting. And I credit to that down a couple of pounds. So I'm back down to still more than I want, but it's starting to drop a little bit. Got a good 5 miler in this morning, so I'm on track, maybe. Um, so again, nuts and bolts, random stuff. I've mentioned things I see at the gym. So I had one yesterday since we didn't have power. I went to the gym, again, not naming which location, but I wanted to shower. It was gross. We had no heat, no hot water, all that stuff. So I'm using the gym. And I'm at the sink section, the mirror, and I'm doing my stuff and shaving and general stuff, being a good locker room attendant. And there's this dude next to me, a couple of sinks down, and he has his electric razor out and he is shaving his chest. And this is a dude that looks like a freaking bear, and he's shaving his chest. And he's got fur all over the sink and the counter and the floor, and it's everywhere. It's disgusting. And he's doing this like he's at home. And I was grossed out. And then when he's done, he tries to scrape up all the stuff and throw it in the trash. So now at the top of the trash is this pile of man fur, and it's awful. And I don't understand why guys think the locker room at a gym is a place to do all these weird things. Creeps me out. I can't speak for the ladies' locker room. I don't spend much time in there, but it was gross. Um, Wind. So we had this big this big wind storm, and the weight of the snow is what caused a lot of the power outages and the wind. And around my neighborhood were just trees down everywhere, branches. But we had a conversation the other day before the storm. Someone said it was going to be blowing wind, and my Seinfeld, Office, Curb Your Enthusiasm sense of humor went straight to, isn't all wind blowing? Is there non blowing wind? And we had this conversation I've mentioned on here about all the dumb conversations I have. This was one of them. Is there, what do you call wind that's not blowing? Isn't it? It's just air, right? So what's a breeze? Breeze is blowing wind. It's just the level of it. And I just thought it was a dumb conversation, because when the weather reporters during one of these storms tell you it's blowing wind, well, all wind is blowing wind. I think we need a mile an hour. What's regular wind? If it's not blowing wind, is it stationary wind? It's just there and not doing anything. I think all wind in general is has to be blowing to be called wind. Anyway, I know it's dumb. Someday when I'm not doing this anymore or I'm gone, these might be entertaining to somebody. Nuts and bolts. I realized, and I didn't realize it, but I just put it on my list that Ben asked me the other day where he had a tie out. Found a tie in my closet. I don't know why I have a tie. That's why I'm bringing this up. That I'm almost 50 years old, coming up in April. I do not know how to tie a tie, and I do not own a suit. And I think it's something I'm kind of proud of. I've created a world for myself where I don't need those things yet. But how many 50-year-old guys don't know how to tie a tie or don't own a suit? If something came up tomorrow that I have to have a suit, I'm done. Or I'm going to the store and probably spending way too much money. But I guess I'd YouTube how to tie a tie. I don't know. I used to have my dad tie them. Shelly would tie them. Um, I just choose not to go to things where I have to have one. But I can't be the only one, right? Um, I wouldn't I wouldn't think so. So I'm uh I'm watching this. There's a little bit of tennis again, mostly not, but some of it is. I got hooked on this show called Suits. It's actually old. It had 9 seasons. I'd never heard of it or seen it until someone I had a couple people tell me they thought I would like it based on other things. So the only name of the person in it, I know that I think it's Meghan Markle. She's the I think she's the royal princess, queen, Princess Leia now, something like that. She's the only one I know in it. But anyway, it's a show about some sort of high powered, slick attorneys. And some of you, most won't know this, but when I started college, I was in a pre law program. I wanted to be an attorney. Thought it would be super cool to be in front of a jury and a judge, like a movie attorney. So my goal, I think, was to be Tom Cruise and A Few Good Men. And I was going to yell things like, "You can't handle the truth." And then I believe I quickly realized that I'm not smart enough. I don't have the patience. I definitely wasn't going to be in school that long. And most of the attorney stuff I was learning had nothing to do with Tom Cruise. It was having to learn stuff and paperwork, and it wasn't what I thought it was. Although I think I could fake it pretty good. I've seen a lot of attorney movies. I love John Grisham books, so I could do that. If you've read all his books, you've got enough knowledge, right? But the main character in there, who's like this, well, kind of a Tom Cruise character, super cool, best of the best, arrogant, cocky, always wins type of guy. He doesn't believe, kind of like me. And one of my first podcasts was titled "Facts, Not Feelings" on a court, that you don't you don't need to deal with your feelings. But it may have changed a little bit because he has a quote. He said he's talking to his sort of mentee, not sure, but he says, "I'm not against having emotions, but I'm not against using them." And I kind of like that because you can't maybe you don't have your emotions and feelings, but when other opponents, you're playing someone and they have them, and you see them angry, sad, yelling at their partner, bad body language, all those things, that's where I think the best players see that and they pounce on them. They use that. Why are they swearing? Why do they look angry? Why are they sad? What are they complaining about? And then if it's a competitive match, you just get after them. You see them miss a forehand in the first game, and you see head down, shaking their head. They better hit another forehand, right? If they come to the net the first time and shank an overhead into the woods, next time they come in, you better give them an overhead. So you're allowed to use their emotions, but you don't use yours. That's for after the match. Because I mention it all the time, and I've become fairly honest with my students that I don't care about your feelings. I look at what's happening. But I think you can use that to look at your opponents and what is their situation, is the best way to use it. So you're allowed to have feelings about their feelings. That's genius. I should get more coaching awards with all this stuff I spew out here because it's pretty awesome what I'm laying down. So the Australian Open has started. I believe it started this morning. There was a couple of good matches. I'm going to try to watch some, but it's so late at night. I go to bed at 8:30. I'll catch most of it in the morning. I'm not really sure who I'm rooting for. I'm bummed. I thought I'd get to see Nadal play again, but I would just want to see some good matches. I think Joker must be the favorite again. I'm not even sure if Alcaraz is healthy and playing. I don't keep up with it much, but I'll start watching it. So it'd be something we can talk about here a little bit. So my question is, with the start of the pro season, What's your favorite Grand Slam? Australian, French Open, Wimbledon, US Open. Mine for many years was Wimbledon. It was just my favorite. I think the colors, the tradition of it, is probably my favorite to watch. But the one I watch the most of is the US Open for a couple reasons. Seems like the Americans always do well. That's a good draw. The night matches are amazing because you know you're going to get matches that start at 6 o'clock. You got at least one, and if I'm can stay awake, watch that second one. But getting that feeling of the night match, there's not much better in sports than seeing two players go at it at 11 o'clock at night, and the crowd's going wild. And I think that's my favorite to watch. The time's obviously good. The other's difficult because of when they play. It's really hard to get invested in it for me. But I'm also a nerd and go to bed super early. So I'd say US Open for me, with a close second. Wimbledon. French is probably last. I think it's because I think it was 1992. My tennis hero Andre Agassi lost in the final to sort of a new up and coming player named Jim Courier, and Courier beat him, and it crushed me. And I think that may have soured my view on the French Open. Lastly, I could use a favor. I put together a podcast specific to the WAC, for the to the WAC Lake Country. So if you're a Lake Country member, um, or just want to hear me and Kayla talk, there's a new one out. It's only one episode. We're trying to get it going. It's called "What's Up with the WAC Lake Country." You can find it everywhere. Just search it on Spotify if that's what you use, or iHeart, or Apple, any of that stuff, and give it a listen. Tell me what you think if you play out at the WAC Lake Country. Just trying to get some feedback. It covers tennis, pickleball, fitness, policies, things that are going on at the club, and check it out. It would help me a lot just to get some feedback on that if you'd like to. Before I go, I'm reading a book. It's called The Wager. I'm not going to give a long synopsis of it, but it is great. If it's in the 1700s, about ships and their captains and going out and getting shipwrecked and trying to survive, and it's these two different groups. But if you're interested in the history of that and how they went at it at war in the seas that many years ago, it's pretty amazing. It paints a pretty gruesome picture. And then the second half of it is some of them came home, and there's a court martial, and true story put together by an author who put together from various pieces of this story. But it's one of the top books now. If you Google it, it's number one on everything, and it's really good. Has nothing to do with tennis or pickleball or anything like that. And all right, that's it. So again, you can find my stuff on Scott Ficks-Tennis and Pickleball on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and everywhere else. Although I don't do Twitter anymore. I scroll it or troll it, but I don't post on it anymore. I just not interested. Don't have the time. But also all of these, not all of them, but the recent ones are all on YouTube. So if you've ever rather watch, you can jump on YouTube and check it out. It's just me sitting in Annie's old room, no, Molly's old room. And right now I've got Dobby from Harry Potter behind me. So if you want to check that out. All right. Thanks, everybody. Stay warm. Watch the Australian Open. And I'll see y'all on the courts. See ya.